This is KGW News at noon.
I want to be clear, these acts are obscene. They're an affront to the values of this community. As mayor, I will never tolerate or condone violence or criminal destruction.
Mayor Ted Wheeler condemning the riot in downtown Portland last night. Hundreds of people gathered in the South Park blocks and took aim at the Oregon Historical Society. Protesters did a lot of damage, and police moved in, making arrests. Thanks for joining us this noon. I'm Brenda Braxton. KGW's Bryant Clerkley was at the mayor's press conference this morning and has more on his message.
Mayor Ted Wheeler expressed his disappointment that hundreds of people hijacked Indigenous Peoples Day to cause damage and destruction downtown to the statues and to the Oregon Historical Society. Protesters called this an Indigenous Peoples Day of Rage. A social media post called for an end to colonialism and abolishment of police. Police say people used a car to pull the Theodore Roosevelt statue down in South Park blocks. The crowd then pulled the Abraham Lincoln statue down.
And we need to keep saying that if you are here engaging in acts of violence or criminal destruction, we do not tolerate it, we will not tolerate it, and we'll do our level best to hold you accountable.
At the Historical Society, several windows were broken out, 3 lit flares were thrown into the building in an attempt to start fires.
Most of the damage was done to the windows. The vast majority of the windows in our pavilion were either completely destroyed or damaged.
At Portland State University, several windows were busted out of the public safety building. Police say there were shots fired inside a restaurant nearby. Several other businesses had damage as well. Authorities arrested 3 people.
These events late at night, they purport to have a racial justice nexus, but they're not that.
Portland police would like anyone with information on the damage done to the Historical Society and the statues to contact them. They'll continue to investigate. In Portland, I'm Bryant Clerkley, KGW News.
Mayor Wheeler's challenger, Sarah Iannarone, issued this statement on Twitter. She wrote in part, "At a time when all our culture and arts venues are hurting, I'm angry for these neighbors of ours who are trying to uplift marginalized voices and honor diverse history only to be targeted by unaccountable vandals. Turn that anger into action and make some donations today." We're also hearing from Oregon State Representative Tana Sanchez. I spoke with her this morning. She is the second Native American to serve in the Oregon legislature and the first to represent Portland. She says the vandalism at the Oregon Historical Society is unconscionable.
That is the place that actually holds the truth. And whether we want to acknowledge it or not and deal with it is another issue, but it actually holds the truth. And the Oregon Historical Society has done an amazing job at really stepping it up lately and talking about the truth and owning that and helping people in Oregon understand what's been happening.
Representative Sanchez says there are 9 federally recognized tribes in the state of Oregon. She says if you'd like to learn more about their history and heritage and also the challenges Native communities face, the tribal websites are a good place to start.